have 1,
that
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
good.
7.
That's from my favorite book.
Girls are all so dainty, and like when I got mine, he was like,
That's really pretty though. It healed really well.
Whoever designed it must be a really good artist.
Can you draw it?
Yeah, I guess
But like I would
That's a
love
good
to have
one.
it that thin.
Yeah, it's way more expensive though.
Zelf.
On the shelf.
Hi, welcome back to Zelf on the Shelf. We're here today with Margi Dehlin.
Ta-da!
She's a photographer, she's the coolest 20-year-old we know, and she's the daughter of John Dehlin, who does the Mormon Stories podcast. So we thought it would be really cool
What better way to get all the dirt on John Dehlin?
Yeah, this is a John Dehlin roast.
John Dehlin here.
We actually do want to do a John roast. I think it'd be so
I'd love
fun.
to do a John roast. Do you want to just dive in?
I feel like all the internet is a John Dehlin roast.
Yeah, that's all
Talking
right.
about the John Dehlин's Hitler mustache account.
John Dehlin is his own
He
roast.
doesn't need his own roast.
Wait, I actually didn't know that there was an account.
There was a Facebook group called Down with Dehlin that I joined for a weekend.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
What were they all about?
You can
Home and
guess.
gardens?
Alright, well, we don't want to spend the whole interview talking about John, but I do think a good first question we can ask you is what it was like growing up with your dad being like this big podcaster and then kind of being outed from the Mormon community, and how that affected you growing up in the Mormon area.
Woo!
Run with that question.
Yeah. Give us your whole, philosophy, life history, just
a lot of
in a nutshell.
questions.
Okay, so like, do you remember when John started Mormon Stories, and like, was it even did it even register to you as significant?
Yeah, so my bedroom was right next to his office actually. So I heard all the podcasts being
fun.
made as I fell asleep. Yeah.
Sound of your dad.
That deep voice telling you nighttime stories.
Exactly. But actually I've never listened to a podcast all the way through.
Okay, I was gonna ask you. I was like, I bet she has.
I almost listened to the full one of my mom.
Uh-huh.
And I loved it, and I just like
Oh,
didn't get
so
the time to
good,
finish
but-
it. But that's the only one I've really come close to finishing. And I know that's awful, but I think it's
No.
good to have a little separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separate the
Keep
dad
some-
from the artist.
Yeah. Some professional distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard. It was a small town, a small community, and I was like seminary president. Well, like seminary mom. Just got my patriarchal blessing. I was gonna go to BYU. All that was going down. Oh, Maya made president when my dad got exed, so it was hard at the time.
When he got
My
exed.
boyfriend broke up with me.
No way.
Because of that. Because of
Kind of, yeah.
Aw.
Because I just remember I was on a date, and I guess we weren't officially boyfriend girlfriend, because that's not really
Totally.
condoned by the
Sure.
artist community. But his mom called while we were on a date. She was like, "Are you with Margi Dehlin? Come home immediately."
That's so sad. And you were
Lest she
not?
start podcasting at you.
Indeed.
Were you supportive of your dad like at every stage, or like when you got excommunicated and you were like the Maya made president? Did you think he was doing something wrong? How did you reconcile that with your faith?
So before the excommunication, I think we were all my dad's biggest, we were all his biggest critics, my
really?
family. So
Like
we've
before
always
doing the
been
podcast?
very I don't want to say confrontational, but just kind of asking him a lot of questions about the way he chose to word things, or we were kind of nitpicky about everything he did, which is good in a way because he's a public figure and he speaks very freely. But after he got the letter, the things that they were actually excommunicating him for were things that I believed were good, and so that was kind of a turning point, because then it felt like, my mom always said she resigned because she felt like she was excommunicated too, because she believed the same things. She just she didn't have a podcast,
Right.
and I kind of felt the same way, so that was a big turning point.
So did your dad stop going to church, I'm assuming, when that happened?
No.
Did he still go?
Well, okay. My mom made us all go to church the Sunday after my dad got
With your dad?
excommunicated. We all had to walk
I get
in,
that. I've just kind of been
and
like,
everyone just turns and looks at us, and one of our neighbors passed us a little note that was kind of cute.
Oh, good.
But after that, it just felt weird.
Did your faith kind of just unravel as your dad's did after that point?
Yeah, I tried to go to church, but it was not the same. People they didn't treat me the same. And that feeling, I think what was really keeping me in was the good feeling. And after your family is no longer allowed to be together for eternity, it dampens the good feels.
Imagine.
Such a buzzkill, I bet.
It was a buzzkill.
Totally.
Yeah. So how did it impact your friendships? You said that one guy stopped dating you because of it, but did you have friends that were weird about it?
Yeah, I pretty much lost all of my current friends at that time and found all new friends.
Wow.
I think there were like 1 or 2 friends that survived.
Wow.
That's really intense.
But it ended up being really good. But at the time it was really hard, you know.
Yeah.
And like all my teachers knew.
Weird.
Like
were they all the
one of my teachers pulled me out of class, like
in like a good way? Like, hey,
to say that she secretly supported me, but that she wasn't comfortable being public about her support.
Was that good? No.
Whatever. Whatever, you know. Whatever floats your boat. But
that's so weird. It's weird thinking about Mormon communities where even school is intertwined with that. Because
Yeah.
where I grew up, like, your religion is like such a separate thing.
Right.
And like, it doesn't impact your education as it shouldn't. But yeah, it's all one in Logan, Utah.
It was weird.
What's something that that most people don't know about John Dehlin?
Number 1. Part A. No, just kidding.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
He has come such a long way in parenting. But when I was in high school, he was such an overprotective father. Like looking out the window when boys would drop me off to make sure they weren't like, kissing. Getting like the numbers of my dates and texting them and calling them.
Wow.
Like we weren't allowed to have Wi-Fi.
What?
Our parents would take our phones at night.
Oh, damn.
Just like
My
really,
parents
really,
did that to my
really
siblings, yeah.
strict. And he, there was kind of like this attitude of like, yeah, I don't know. It stemmed from a good place.
Yeah. What's like the biggest misconception that people have about him that you've observed?
Good question.
A lot of people kind of think that he was like trying to get excommunicated or, you know, like that was his goal to take down the church, but he like cried when he got excommunicated.
I believe that.
And it was like a really traumatic, hard time for him.
When I left the church, I almost felt like John was like too nice about the church. Like
Yeah.
he obviously has so much love for it, and he continued to have that for so long after, and obviously still does. It's only been like in the last year that I've even observed him making like any kind of like angry statement or like more forceful statement that isn't like layered with like trying to soften the blow for people.
Funny story, there is this video that needs to be leaked at some point of my dad.
Yeah, literally.
My dad filming me and my older sister Anna playing through a mirror. And he gets bored because, I mean, I think my mom asked him to do it or something, and it's been like an hour of him just filming us playing dressed up or something. And the song Banana Phone by Raffi comes on. And he starts doing this full, like, lip sync, like, choreographed thing to Banana Phone. And it gets to the point where he's so involved in this, like, performance that me and Anna run into the frame and we're covering him. And he takes his arm and he shoves us out of the frame so he can finish his Banana Phone.
That makes so much sense.
We've always said, like, John just, like, needs to be a performer.
When he does karaoke,
I've never seen someone...
is like his drinking, I swear. Like, it's his escape.
It's like his ecstasy.
It is.
It's beyond drinking.
So high when he's doing karaoke, it's crazy.
I can't drink because of the medication I'm on. I'm on an SSRI. I'm on Zoloft.
Okay.
And when I drink with Zoloft.
Do you like being on that? Is it working out?
Oh, it's been so good for me.
Good.
What's the medication? What's Zoloft for?
Depression.
So can we talk about that?
Yeah?
Because I think that's a topic that most millennials are somewhat familiar with, and I think in a lot of ways we're bringing it to light culturally.
We can talk about sexuality too. We can talk about being not as bisexual, and now I'm identify as pretty pansexual.
Okay. Is the difference between bisexual and pansexual just that pansexual includes transsexual?
It includes pans.
Sweetie, I'm so sorry.
No.
Oh man.
Oh, he's fine.
He's fine as well.
Yeah, so pansexual just means it doesn't matter. Like body parts, gender identity, gender expression, it's not about that. More all-inclusive. I kind of felt like a dick identifying as bisexual just because of... It's so binary.
Yeah, because it's still just like one or the other.
Yeah. When things aren't that simple.
And we're talking about the term bisexual and how it's sort of become difficult because it almost implies this like 50-50.
Yeah, and it's not.
Who actually
And
thinks
people always ask you to describe your percentages. And who just knows out of the top of their head, like, what percent they are what?
Right.
I've crunched the numbers. I did statistical analysis of every person that I see and that I'm attracted to, and I'm going to tell you.
It would purely depend on who you would meet. So, like, how would you?
No, I have no idea. Like, I don't even know how to explain it because I just, it's about the people, not the gender.
Yeah.
Did you know you were bisexual from a young age, or when did that kind of come up for you?
So I didn't know at a young age, but it's always like, in hindsight, you think of all these, like I touched tongues with my best friend on the bus in like kindergarten.
Who among us?
Yeah, just little things like that. But I didn't really realize till I moved away to New Jersey. And it wasn't even that I dated girls out there. I just suddenly had this, it was Orange is the New Black.
Oh, really?
I started watching Orange is the New Black, and once I got over like that initial stage of discomfort at seeing like girls making out and doing all sorts of things that they do in Orange is the New Black.
The gay agenda's working. It's working.
No, that's not what it's about.
I know, I'm totally kidding.
I think I just like kind of got rid of some of my own internalized homophobia, so I wasn't so grossed out by myself. And then I just started noticing that like a lot of, I don't know, I just started looking back into the past and seeing things in a new light and realizing how much I wanted to date women. And I did for a while. And now I'm dating a boy. Which doesn't mean that I'm not
so
queer.
you're straight.
You get your card gets taken away.
Seriously,
I'm sorry.
it kind of feels like that sometimes.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about you being on Zoloft. Is this a weird way to start it?
No, we did mention it. So
Okay.
It's not a big
good tie back.
Okay, so we talked about you being on Zoloft a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how depression has affected your life, when you started noticing it, and how that's played out.
Yeah, so I feel like most of the time when people talk about mental illness, they talk about like realizing it later on in life, like late teens, early 20s. But I feel like I've just had it all along. Like it's been a part of my life all along. And when I was like 6 years old, maybe 5 or 6, there was like a solid period of time where I didn't eat, and so we went to a bunch of doctors and I got my blood drawn, and my parents were trying to figure out what was wrong, and ultimately I just think I was sad. I was going through like a little sad spell. And that didn't mean that like my home life wasn't good or my parents weren't amazing or you know that I wasn't grateful. It was just kind of brain chemistry. So it reached a point where my parents bought me like a grateful journal and told me that I needed to focus more on positive things in my life, which was cute and actually helpful. I filled up a lot of journals.
Gratitude journaling does help.
I'm a big fan. There's a lot of things that are like good, but they're not necessarily like cure-all.
But it's like, why not do them? Because they definitely don't.
Exactly.
Do as much as you can on your own, but like, I love that you're being open and vulnerable about that, and also because there's so many stigmas still today about mental illness and like, especially with medication.
That was the biggest thing, because even like nobody in my family had taken medication for anything related.
Do you guys feel like Mormonism is perhaps even more judgy of medication because they feel like the atonement should, like when I was Mormon, I thought that I essentially believed that antidepressants were wrong because the atonement should be able to fix it, because you're constantly hearing like Christ can fix everything. It's not like except mental health, like, and obviously like now that we're out of the church, it's so easy to see that like your brain and your religious experiences are completely like one thing. I remember the church put out this article like a couple of years ago or whatever that was like, people with depression may struggle to feel the spirit, and it was like them rationalizing it, and to me I was like, it's so obvious, like they can't feel the spirit because like they're not getting enough dopamine, and like that's what the spirit is. It's like those chemicals, and they don't release enough. Anyway,
not to mention like our parents' generation was raised with like Bruce R. McConkie and his ilk that was all like psychoanalysis is of the devil, like the real therapy is through the priesthood, like proper channels and shit. And
there's still an attitude
very anti-science,
anti-psychology kind of. I don't know.
Because psychology unravels.
Psychology proves religion wrong.
Okay,
so you started, when did you start antidepressants?
So things got worse and worse. My middle school years were a hot mess. My parents can attest to that. And high school was rough too. And I didn't start antidepressants until December of this last year.
Okay.
So it was like a long battle, and then when I finally got on antidepressants, it was like a game changer. It just felt like my brain was suddenly normal.
Yeah.
You know?
That's how I felt.
And I'm not saying, oh yeah?
I was like, oh, this is how normal people feel about doing tasks.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't want to do something, you're not like incapable of doing it. Anyway.
And it's not like it fixed everything, and medication doesn't fix everything, and I still went to therapy and did a bunch of other things, but in order to do all the things that break you out of the cycle of depression, you have to like sometimes get a little push, and medication can do that to help you get out of bed, so then you can exercise and eat and socialize, you know?
Totally. And it's like, why make life harder when you don't need to as well?
So what was like before deciding to, or what was the process for finally deciding to try antidepressants?
That is a good question. I think I just had I had a good therapist kind of tell me, like, you just really don't have to do this all by yourself.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was losing. Like, I was losing a battle if I went on antidepressants, finally.
Yeah.
Like, that would mean I just couldn't beat it myself.
That is exactly how I felt. And I am still not certain whether I think I maybe more need, like, an anti-anxiety medication, but I'm not convinced enough either way. And I'm kind of scared that if I get on them, then it's like I'm in that then, and it's harder to then go back. Whereas now I feel like it's nice having both paths that I can choose. I think the hard thing about depression and mental illness is that even though there's so much more awareness for it these days, like, there's still a part of your brain when you're the one experiencing it that's like, nah, that doesn't apply to you. Like, you could just choose to be different, or you could try harder, or I don't know, it's like almost hard to fully accept, like, oh yeah, you have depression or you have anxiety, and there's, you know, you're not kind of on the same playing field as other people in terms of like brain chemistry necessarily and stuff like that. Anyway, it's just easy to like beat yourself up, I think. Like, it's so easy to look at other people and be like, yeah, like, you have depression, like, be kind to yourself, but it's so much harder to be kind when it's you. I made this tweet once that people liked where I said, I love our generation because people can be like, yeah, and then I just fell into a deep depression and I couldn't work for a month.
I retweeted this.
I love that about our generation though, like, someone could be telling a story and say that and you're like, yeah,
totally.
That's so real.
That's what you gotta do.
Whereas like if I said to my mum like, oh yeah, and then I was like so depressed I had to take a week off work, she'd be like, what's wrong with you? Like, she wouldn't accept it as anything but my fault almost. Or she would see it as so extreme. Like, I feel like for the older generation it either has to be like your problem or something way more extreme. There's not really like a middle road. Also, I feel like if you suffer from mental illness, there's also that feeling that's like, it should be worse for me to be able to like seek help almost. I don't know, it always feels like you can fix it on your own. Or I guess it's different for everyone. That's how I feel.
Where is it writ that basically chimpanzees should have like really good mental states?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This idea that we're just supposed to have these perfect working brains that respond well to our environment and lead us to be our most like effective, efficient lives, and it's like, no, it doesn't
like,
always happen like
you're
that.
alive, your brain is technically doing its job.
Yeah. So prior to this interview, we asked Twitter some questions. I asked them to ask questions.
It was worse than I could have ever imagined.
I'm so sorry that happened. Okay, so we got a couple of questions about your photography. So someone said, I'd love to hear about how she likes doing photography for LDS weddings. Let's start with that. How do you feel about doing LDS weddings?
LDS weddings are a massive part of my clientele. It's like 90%. And as much as like religion is so important to people, as far as weddings go, it's not about like the religion, it's just about the relationship. So I love shooting weddings where I can tell that the couple really cares about each other and where they add like quirky little details. Like I had a couple cut a watermelon inside the cake. That was so cute.
That is cute.
Things like that. I mean, there is kind of a pattern. You get into the routine of doing like the temple ceremony, the luncheon, and the reception. So it's nice to change things up and do different types of weddings. But overall, I mean, it makes it easy.
Yeah.
Like, you know the drill every time.
Yeah.
You recently had a photography exhibition, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was the inspiration for that project?
So it's called...
him banging above us. I don't know
what
is going on.
Having sex?
He's having sex with like a hammer, I think.
If that's sex, then like they need a different bed because...
That sounds like painful.
Carpeted floor,
yeah, not a good time.
Anyway, recently did a photography exhibition.
Recenter. Yeah, so it was called exposure therapy. At my school, I was at Utah State, and one of the art students, his name was James, he put up a picture of two men kissing in the hallway. It was like in the display case. And then over Christmas break, it was vandalized. And I was like, great, like the one article of gay at Utah State was vandalized.
Aww.
So I was talking to my dad, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna like print out thousands of pictures of just gays kissing, making out, and I'm just gonna like put them everywhere around the art building. Just sneak in the middle of the night and just plaster the walls with gay, you know? And my dad was like, or he could like actually do some sort of exhibit or like some positive thing, because likely the janitor would have just like gone through and pulled everything down and no one would have seen it. So yeah,
cool.
It was an exhibition of cute same-sex couples in the area.
Cool. Did people receive it well? Did you get any hate?
The weird part was that my actual photography class and my photography professor were kind of weird about it.
Really?
Like, they said that I should have included heterosexual couples. That was like the
point
main
of the exhibition.
But like the whole point of the exhibition was not to.
Yeah, I feel like they don't get art if they're saying that.
It was really confusing. But as far as like everyone that came to the show, like the reception and everything, everyone was so sweet. People were crying and hugging and brought their partners and brought their kids. And it was just cute. It was cute.
Good.
Rainbow donuts.
Do you have any LDS wedding photography trends that make you cringe? You retweeted that thing the other week that was like every Utah first look video.
Okay, first look videos. There we go.
Yeah.
That is
What's
the tea.
First look video?
I do not like first look videos.
Is it a Mormon thing
fake.
to do first look videos?
What is it?
I feel like it kind of started within, photography is really prominent within like Utah, California, Idaho areas. Like wedding photography is like really huge, even more than other places, I feel like.
I feel like there's so many extra things, like bridals. I've never known people to take pictures in their wedding dress before the day. Okay, so a first look video, Tanax, you don't know, is just where it's a video of like the groom seeing the bride in her dress for the first time.
But there's all this pressure
That's
for
so
the
much pressure to like react.
like, and most of the time,
sir.
like 9 times out of 10, the groom turns around and goes, and then everyone's like, shit, you gotta do that again. And then they're like receiving tips from the videographer who's like, put your hands over your face, like, or like twirl it around or whatever, and it's just really inauthentic. And there's always like the same, it's basically a video of like the couple making out, intertwined with like twirling and like leading each other across the screen, which is honestly it's what wedding photography is, so I'm a part of it too, but it's still kind of funny to notice those patterns.
Yeah, I bet.
And they're all edited in the exact same way, where it's super warm tones, super grainy.
Yeah.
The guy adjusting his bow tie.
Always the straightening of the tie or whatever.
Yeah.
And the girl doing this.
I'm gonna do like fastening the belt.
Seriously.
Lacing up the shoes.
My pants. Okay, next question. Why are you called Maya? What's the meaning of that name?
Why? Oh, Maya Angelou, the poet. Yeah, my parents named us all after like historical figures that they love that mean something to them, and so.
No wonder y'all left the church.
They already seem too cool.
When I was a little kid, I didn't really understand the significance, but I like memorized some Maya Angelou poems when I got older. And,
So you're very cool. I'm only 20, which doesn't seem fair. Like when you think about yourself at 20.
Oh god.
It makes me like.
I was on a mission.
Yeah.
Woof woof.
Yeah, you're doing great. But I feel like you are like the epitome of millennial culture, essentially. Well, we kind of are too, but you know.
Who isn't?
Yeah. But like when I like watch your Instagram stories or whatever it is, I'm like, it just screams millennial.
You capture the moment.
You are so
this
Portland.
moment. Yeah.
I I actually love Portland. That's a huge
we do.
Oh yeah, it's our mecca. I pray to Portland every night.
I'm going on pilgrimage.
Like, how do you view millennials' place in society? Like, what is your perspective on this generation and what it's bringing to the table?
I'm weirdly very optimistic about like my generation.
Classic millennial.
I'm not like optimistic about very many things.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but I just feel like from the interactions I've had with people my age, it's like a very reachable generation where even if you disagree with people, it's easier to connect on like a person-to-person level than it is with older generations.
We don't expect the same homogeny, like we don't expect everyone to be the same. We just like generally celebrate differences more than past generations have, especially Mormonism, obviously.
And I don't think, I don't know. I think things are trending towards, my dad always says it's like trending towards being more accepting, more loving, more whatever. And I definitely see that. Just from, you see as the grades go on, like the grades passing up in high school or whatever, more kids are coming out.
Yeah.
When I was graduating, I didn't know a single bisexual girl.
Really? When you were 18? So by 18 you hadn't been bisexual?
I think I knew one bisexual girl in like the entire valley. So it was not, and just in like the past year or so, this cute little girl, I don't want to give her identity away. I was gonna say what she was involved in school, but she DM'd me and was like, I'm in like a sophomore in high school and I think I'm bisexual and I don't, like it's just becoming more and more accepted too.
Definitely.
And there's definitely times where that's not the case, but I'm hopeful. But yeah, I also see it's like cool to care about the environment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So cool. I don't know. Those are all just good things.
Yeah.
What personally has been like the best part of transitioning out of Orthodox religious belief?
I honestly just feel like I went from being someone who was not me to me, so it's hard to pick a favorite because it's like in every way, in like my art, I became so much less fearful about what I was expressing. Like the movies that it expanded my entire realm as far as movies go and music goes and people go. Like I was always a pretty open person to other people, but I feel like now I'm even more opened up to different types of people. Sexuality, having a healthy sex life is something that I did not have before. Being able to dress the way I want to. Being able to look the way that actually feels like me.
Amen.
Because I've always wanted to have tattoos and fairy hair and piercings and whatever and dress weird, and it just when you read
For the strength of you.
Thank you. It's been a while. They say like no flashy hair colors even.
Yeah. My mom, I had a conversation with her recently, bless her heart, she's like so loving and accepting, really like a model for believers interacting with non-believers, but she asked me right toward the end of our conversation, she's like, can I just say, like, why is it that when people leave the church they like have to alter their appearance and like the way they talk? And I was like, Mom, this is what I've like always wanted to be. Like I've always been very eccentric and loved just, I don't know, the weird and the fun and the... Even
though like you're not that weird, like it's weird that to them that's weird.
Right, because I don't feel like weird.
No.
It's just not your average like cookie cutter, short hair, polo shirt, whatever.
It's funny because I had like the exact same conversation with my dad.
Really?
It's like, is it like, are you desiring more attention? Like, do you feel like you're not getting enough attention? And I was like,
because of that.
No, I just feel inwardly like my hair should be purple.
Yeah. Ever since I was a little tiny kid, I wanted long hair, like a beard and pierced ears. I haven't done the pierced ears or the beard yet, but waiting for the beard to come in fully.
If you guys see me with this hair color in a few weeks, it's 100% because I copied Maya.
Yeah. It's not a copy.
Not an innate childhood desire.
It wasn't an innate childhood desire.
It's fun. It's contagious.
It's fun.
I feel like we just talked a ton about my dad, and my mom is the most underhyped.
Thank you.
I was gonna say that. Like every time your mom does put something out or I hear her talk, I'm like, oh my god! Like
my mom is so underhyped.
Yes. like everyone is sleeping on Margi Dehlin, honestly. And it's like, I feel like her and your dad are almost such a good yin and yang in certain ways. Like she just brings something to the table that like your dad doesn't really bring. Like not that John isn't so loving or anything like that, but she just seems to have like such an awareness of the importance of like self-love and mindfulness.
He's so like grounded in an interesting way. Oh yeah.
She's just constantly like self-improving.
Yeah, I love that.
Trying to like reach a higher state of who she is.
Yeah.
And it's
all right, hit piece on Margi Dehlin. What's some things about Margi
that people don't know?
That people need to know.
Oh, damn, this is a good one. She ran for BYU, you know that, right?
She ran for BYU?
She's a runner.
President.
Cool. And she had like someone that she was competing against who I think passed out towards the end of a race, and they were kind of neck and neck, and my mom picked her up and like hoisted her around her and carried her across the finish line, and it was in the newspaper. There's a picture of it, and it's like the most Margi photo I've ever seen.
That's heartwarming.
A really good story.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Margi is underhyped. Can I ask you guys questions?
Yeah.
Is that even allowed?
Turn the tables on us.
Okay, favorite breakfast cereal?
I don't like cereal.
Okay.
I will occasionally eat like cornflakes or like frosted flakes or
okay, frosted flakes, yeah. Which cat do you like better?
Banksy.
Does your other cat know that?
He doesn't give a shit. Like he just
see, cats don't need you.
Yeah.
Cats don't.
He's like, I'll bite you when I feel like it, I'll cuddle you when I feel like it.
What's the last movie you watched?
Last movie was Active Measures, a documentary about Russia, Putin.
Would you recommend it?
Trump.
It spooked
Absolutely.
him.
Yeah. It like put the fear of God in me.
I've been spooked for so long, and then Tanner watched this documentary now. He's spooked too, and so there's
I was like, you've been spooked all along because it's just been a shit show since the very beginning, right? Like we know that it's bad, and like it kind of sucks knowing any more about it because you still feel like just as powerless to do anything about it.
It's so real.
But then I was like, well, I guess, we do have a platform and, there are things we can be doing.
Yeah.
But,
I'm not trying to fuck
what
with
the
Russia.
hell is the Zelf? What is Zelf?
Zelf is a relic of Mormon history. So one time do you remember the Zion's camp that Joseph Smith led to go liberate Zion? Along the way, they found a skeleton, and Joseph Smith said, "This is Zelf. He was a mighty white Lamanite prophet warrior who fought in the last battles of the Book of Mormon."
Totally wasn't.
He called that Zelf?
Yeah.
Not where the Book of Mormon is. Even the church doesn't say that.
And so it's a play on like the Elf on the Shelf Christmas tradition.
Your dad came up with it.
Yeah. We were talking. I can't remember why. We said something about Zelf.
We said we wanted to start a blog or a YouTube channel or something.
Which he encouraged. Like the very first time I met him, he was like, "Yeah, you guys should vlog. Like this girl Lacey Green, she's ex-Mormon. She does YouTube."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Sure."
And then he was like, "Do you have any ideas for the name?" And I was like, "I love Zelf. I've always liked the name." And then he goes, "Zelf on the Shelf."
That's so cute and creative.
Yeah. Good job,
Johnny
John.
D.
Who knew? What are you guys gonna be for Halloween?
There's a lot of contention going on between us.
I'm trying to steal her boyfriend to be Simon and Garfunkel.
No, they want to be sexy
cool.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Sexy Simon and Garfunkel.
Is that respectful?
Yes.
But Jared wants to be a sexy robot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just like lost.
I think you should be sexy robots. You guys ought to.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot more thought needs to go into this. Like we need a meeting.
I'm woefully underprepared every year.
I know. Like I say, we have a meeting like in a couple of weeks. Like we just sit down, we get a notepad, hash it out. Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a Halloween costume?
Unicorn.
I was going to say Manic Pixie Dream Girls, and you gave like the
I'm
equivalent
serious.
of that.
Like I have always, the little girl in me has always wanted to be a unicorn, and I think now
you're gonna live the dream.
I'm already jealous of
It's gonna be glitter.
Hell yeah.
I want to be that.
All right, I think we've lightened things up.
We should wrap up.
Consider yourselves lightened up.
Have fun editing this, future Sam or Tanner.
Now let's get to the serious things.
Support us on Patreon.
We're gonna link Maya's Instagram on. Are there any other platforms on the which you want to be followed?
Hype yourself up.
Twitter.
We'll put your handle in. Say it just out loud for the people who are
Maya Dehlin.
listening only.
It's a pretty unique name.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's not a lot of Maya Dehlins in the world.
Not any.
Yeah.
That's why I got my own Gmail.
Very cool.
@gmail.com.
Very cool.
Right on.
Email me anytime.
Thank you.
Let's bring email back in a big way.
Oh, and like the instant chat.
Oh yeah, let's go MSN, guys.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining us, Maya.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.